Welcome back to Railroads Online, and this is episode 3 in the playthrough of building out the map and playing the map with some moved industries. And in the last episode, we finished off building out this yard here at the freight depot so that we have somewhere to store all our rail cars. And I'm actually going to make a little bit of a change here. I'd like to be able to have an engine yard in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some locomotive sheds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this section here out, and I'm going to add in here, snap onto there, put it on straight line mode, and just here at this end, I'm going to put in, we need to measure back. So how long was that? 86. So we need about 20 for one short bit and 20 for another. To about there. And then we'll put in 20 meters more. A little bit more. Connect under there, go a little bit more. And then a short straight to connect between here. And that will give us some spots to be able to put some switches in. Now these curves here on the end, they're actually two splines, and they would actually look better if I put them in as just a single spline. So I'll replace the curves on the end here first as well. And that a little bit so that it lines up. I'll replace the one here on the other end, which is two splines to make up the curve. We'll connect from this end. Just puts a nicer curve there for us to copy when we build over the top of it with the old splines, the old tracks. Okay, now we'll come back to this end here. We want to leave this first little piece straight. We can see where it's at. Should be this little piece here, and then we want to go for this piece and remove it. Measure forward with a switch, and look at that, we didn't quite measure properly, so we'll delete the next section out. Put in a short section here in the middle, and we want to put this on 50 centimeter increments. Circle mode on. 2 meters. No, we'll make it 3. Just so we've got a short piece here so that the switch stands aren't right in front of each other. And we'll put a switch in here, switch stand on the left, turnout on the left. Then from here, we will put out, put it on 10s, on 100. Just come out here to the side just a little bit, because we also want to put out here a spot where we can put a turntable. And sadly, it won't fit anywhere in the middle of the yard. We've got no choice but to put it sort of out here off to the side. We'll just put a long section in here. And just mark where the turntable will go, which will be somewhere about here. So we've got an idea of where it's going to sit. It will have to be replaced. And then we'll come back with a switch here back the other way, which is like that. Take out that section, put it back in again. Circle mode off, and of course we're facing the wrong way. And this will give us a line up through here to come out, and we'll put a locomotive shed here. Now an easy way to get these locomotive sheds to line up and actually be at the correct height for the track that will sit on top is, if we come to about here, Yeah, about here, I reckon. And we get an alignment here, which is should be 180, which will be perpendicular across here. Circle mode on, and we'll just put a piece of track out that direction. And now we can use that to align the engine shed on. And you can see here it sits up on top nice and neatly. And if we line up these center boards, the vertical ones, with the rail, just come back a little bit so we can make sure that we are actually far enough away from that rail. We want our center here. We align that about there, I reckon. And that's a pretty good alignment. And we're far enough away that we'll be able to fit past. Now we can delete this piece here, and now these bits of rail here are at the right height for this piece here. Now to get an alignment from here, we will turn this back to 270, and we have to put it on ones to be able to get it to line up underneath the rail. This can be a little bit tricky to get it to work out. Looks pretty good to me. And we'll just put a 150, 4 meter section. We'll do the same here on this one. It gives us basically the length of a cross track just before you enter the doorway. Our controls are being very touchy tonight. That should be close enough. And again, we'll set it to 50 and pull it out to 4 meters. And we've got two different lengths of 4 meters there. The good old measuring system of the new splines is still working as it always did. And then we'll pull this piece out here, and this will give us an alignment for when we've got this one here in the right spot. So we can put our next switch in, which should be, at a guess, about here. We'll try a switch and see how far we miss by. Needs to become a little bit further. And we better put this on ones so that we can get a better estimate. I'll try that. Hopefully we are a little bit too far or online. We need to come just a little bit further. Yeah, we'll try. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that alignment. That looks pretty good. So we'll take that bit out of there. And then we'll just connect this piece here with circle mode off. Rotate it around to 90. And snap it onto there. And grab this one here. And snap it onto here. And that gives our alignment. Oh, gee, that didn't fit very well, did it? Bit of a funny bend there for that second line. We may have been just a little bit too close with our locomotive house. And there's only one way to fix that. And that is to put a tiny little curve in this piece that comes out from here. So we'll take these two out. Put that on straight mode. Go for 10s. We need to have a little bit of a curve on here. And I'll take that piece up to there. And well, this piece here is the offending piece. Now, this piece here we want to have built back out again, so we know when we've got to line up. This back on straight. And now let's see if we've built this too long, and we've got to come just before the alignment there, so that we can continue that curve to the first one, and we'll be wide enough then to go to the second one. So we'll take this out and try again. $300 will do for the curve, and we'll just bring it back a bit, and we'll try that. Put another switch in and see where it lands, and that should be a better alignment then. So let's delete everything out of here and see how it lines up when we connect these links on, whether or not we get smooth curves or whether we don't. Connect onto there, replace mode. No, I'm not liking that curve at all. I think it needs to come out just a little bit further. Let's have a look and see what this one looks like. Yes, that one there looks like it needs to come out a little bit further as well. So we'll leave that there, and we'll come back and we'll place this one here just a little bit longer. Circle mode on, and somehow we've managed to go up in the air. I've bumped the button. Not the first time I've done that. I've done that a couple of times now. And we'll come forward to about here. And I don't think that actually connected onto the right spot. Delete this, and it didn't. So I'm just going to put this here as a marker, how long we want to make it. Remove it and place it back in again. And it didn't want to let us connect onto the right position. And now we'll put a switch in again and have another look. So that's moved it over just a little bit. Hopefully that takes us just enough to take that little kink out of the track that was there. Didn't look pretty at all. There's still a tiny little kink in there. It's still got to come out further. How does this side look? I'll connect it to this end instead of spinning it around. It'll be easier. This side looks all right this time. So it's just this one here that's... Actually, it's not even that bad. It's still got to come just a little bit further forward. Not by much. So we'll just put another piece here as a marker. So we want to come forward to about there. Circle mode on, so let's just place the piece. And try it for the third time. This time we should be a bit closer. Long piece. We want to put the switch in here, which is that one. Circle mode off. And connect under there. Yeah, that's better. Definitely better. And this one should line up nicely as well now as well. Yes, now I'm happy with it. Now something that I've noticed, we can start building on top here now. Something I've noticed with when you're building on top, when we've got these switches, if we try and actually click on here, it won't actually let me start putting the piece. And if I start putting a piece on here, you can see it actually dips down. So a way to get around that is to take the switches out and replace in where the switches used to be with just a piece of normal rail on the straight side. And that way we can actually get that switch to build and place back where it was. So we can take our normal switch that we had here and line it up with the track, and it should sit there and line up nice and neatly. Can be tricky to get it to line up. That should be pretty close. And yeah, it's not quite lined up. I'd like to go just a little bit more to the left. But definitely makes it easier to get the replacement switches back in over the top than trying to put them in over the top of the old switch, because they just don't seem to go into the right spot. Because the mouse is so sensitive, that also makes it a little bit difficult to get it to line up. I don't think we're quite standing center of the track, which makes it not a line on this end. See the other end of that's going up and down in the air as I move it backwards and forwards. You can see that's dipped down. I hope that doesn't actually go in and do that. How did we go this time? Looks like we've placed it in almost exactly the same position as we did before. And we can have a look and see. Yeah, see our tyres are sitting pretty much neatly on top of the tyres, and at this end, pretty much in the same position, so it's placed in there level. Yes, this is the most difficult thing with building over the top, is getting the switches to place in and replacing it, place at exactly the same position as what they previously did. And now something else that you can do that makes it easier to line up, and again we'll do the same thing here. Actually, we'll build it back this way so we don't have to spin that around. Connect it up onto there, and we just need to find where the joint is. And sometimes it's hard to find the change of pattern in the rail, which, yeah, I can't see it. There it is, right there. It's this way. Because, yeah, this is going to be hard to get it to line up here. And that looks pretty good. Let's have a look at this end. See how close we got it to line up. It's a little bit off to one side. We might be just a little bit too short. Yeah, we needed to come further forward to there. Another go. So it seems it dips at the other end, and then when it gets off the joint, it pops back up again. If we move backwards, it's fine. If we move forwards, it dips down and then back up. If we move back, it doesn't dip. Okay, I see what it's doing. So where is the joint here? Right there, at the end of that tie. move back forward past it, then come back. It can be very difficult to get it just in that right spot. We'll give that a try. How well do we line it up this time? That I can be very happy with. And now we can build in here. If it gives me a link, there we go. And then we need to place one inside the switch here, so it gives us something to connect to inside the switch back on here. And we also need to do it on this end as well. Place the switch on the end, cross track on the end, and then place one again back inside, and I went under my feet. Have another go at it. There we go. Move all of those. Now we can build the actual piece of track with old splines. Link to there. Link to there. Alt lock on. You can see these aren't center now. We actually need to put a little bit of a curve in here. It's not much of a curve. We could nearly do this in one piece, but because we've got short bits, how long is it? And it will take two short pieces to get it to line up. So that's a little bit too far. We want to line it up so that the center of the rail's on the center of the rail. Should be pretty good, and then the second piece should link and line up. Turn off the alt lock, snap it to there, and then come through the switch and snap it to there. And that should have that lined up neatly. Delete that off of there. And you should be able to see that one to get it from there. And this one here will be slightly skewed off to one side. We can get it from there, and there we go. That's that piece placed in the middle. All that's left to do here is remove the rail out from underneath. There we go. And then a similar thing here on this end. We just put a cross track here on the end of the locomotive house, and it helps if we stand in the doorway to place these. They're a little bit easier to place. There's currently no hit boxes on the doorways, and they were removed because it did crazy things if you decided to close the door and you had the locomotive half sticking out of it. Okay, now we're going to try and get these ones to go inside the switch, under the feet. Go again. Hold it just in the right spot, and it's usually nicely lined up. It'll just snap on there inside the switch, but nicely lined up to the switch. And there we go. Remove these ones. And now we can build these lines here up to the doorways, if we choose the right type of rail, that is. Well, this is actually the second time I've attempted to record this episode. The first attempt, for some reason, it just did not record properly, and I've had to come back and have a second go at it. Oh, wrong way. I want to come back out this way. We'll go for 1/4% pieces. And there is a slight little wobble there. We can tell by how far we had to move that piece of rail. There will be a slight wobble in that track. And Keep moving it so that this rail lines up center with the one underneath. Click it in. And to go from here to here, it looks like it's going to take 2 short bits. So we're going to have to go put 7 tie pieces in here. And that's pretty close. Place. And then Alt lock off. Snap to there. Let me snap. Now I've got to stand in the doorway to get it to snap. There we go. And that's that piece placed in. Delete all of what we used as guides. And this one little piece that's inside the switch. Crouch down and take out that bit of rail that's underneath. Oh, right over here. There we go, got it. And we need to get the little piece that's in under here. There we go. And yeah, as you can see, building over the top of the other rails, it's difficult in some ways to get things to place, but it makes things so much easier to get lined up to the other things around on the track. And there's our joint. There it is there. Link to there. Link to there. Alt lock on. And we just keep building forward. And I'm not actually going to bring that out to match it because the next piece will actually curve in. About there. And now we'll try and keep it center of the line. And this piece here we're going to have to put in because it's too long for, so I'll have to put it in at shorter lengths, just slightly shorter. Move over here so we can line up to the rail. And about there. And now we can turn off the alt lock, snap to that joint, stand in the doorway, and snap to that joint. That's that curve worked out. Clean up all the guide bits we used. And the one little piece that's up here. You can see everything there went in all nice and level with the engine house. And that's annoying. And that actually means we need to build it over the top of it and do it again. Otherwise it's going to be 2 splines if we just fix up that one little piece. So we'll just come along here to every joint again and just snap to every joint. And then before we right click to finalize that, we'll come out here and we will just delete all the pieces in the middle. And we'll actually go right through the middle of here and that'll delete that bit out from under there as well. Now we can put it in. And now this can be painful to try and get this one here out when it's on the straight, and we got it without getting the switch. Now we have nice smooth curves all into the locomotive house. And now we'll work back the other way on here. We need to replace that. And we're facing this way, so we'll build it this way. Give me the link. And we'll audio switch back in facing that way. The same thing as we did before to line up the switch. We just got to sort of get it in the right spot over here and have a guess. If it's not right, we try again. Oh, that looks pretty close. How far off did we miss? We're a little bit off to the right. Look, it's almost guaranteed if we do... I've got the distances wrong because we can't measure properly. We'll give it a go. We'll see how far off we are. And yeah, we're a little bit long and not quite in line. Yes, because we can't measure distances properly with the new splines, causes that to be a bit of a problem. We're just going to have to try and eyeball it. Where exactly is the joint here? Right there, right in the middle there. Try that placement. There's some a lot more happy with where it positioned. Okay, we can delete that bit out of there, that one out of there, and that bit from under there. And this is just a single with the right stuff in between those two joints. And now on the end of here, we need to place cross tracks and then get them to build back into the... And the only reason we need to put them to build back into it is because there's a curve coming off from the... straight from the switch. So we need to have something back inside the switch to connect to. If it was a straight, we could just put it connected to the end of the straight and then just build it over it on the end of the straight. There we go. And remove these ones. 3 of them on there. Build out over the top of here. Put our alt lock on. And then come out with our first piece. It's actually easier if we stand over it. And slowly curve into the corner a little bit. Snapping our first bit. And that curve around a little bit tighter. Oh, that'll let me place it then. And the last piece on here, we want it to line up with the rail underneath. Okay, don't let me place it. Now it did. Okay, we'll put that piece in. We will take out that. here. Just want to get this transferred to the other side. Just so we have something that lines up straight through the... We take out that piece. Take out that piece. Now we can put the... and it'll actually snap in and line up. And now we can build back this way. Actually, I might put a cross track here on the end. No, I don't think we need it. Snap to there, put the alt lock on. And it's pretty much lined up. It's a little bit off. Okay, we're going to have to do a little bit of correction here. So we'll snap to here. Make sure it lines up here on the end. That gives us a better alignment. Now we'll remove these two pieces here off the end. Now we'll put a cross track on it, which should give us a better line up then to where we're going. We can remove that piece and then build back from it with the correct splines. Now if we put on alt lock, we should get two neat pieces in here that fit and line up properly. So they're still slightly off. Delete that, delete that. And we need to delete this curve from under here. Delete that, and then delete this piece out of the middle of the switch. And there we go, that bit there's all in. And now we will actually leave this point here from here, because we really need to put in these switches here along this end before we start building in any of these pieces that go in along there. All this here, this is going to have to be all built up with groundworks. Pretty much the whole inside of the yard will need to be built up with groundworks. I would have liked to have actually put that locomotive house in between here, but it's just not quite enough room for it to fit in the same amount of space as one of these things here fit, which was a little bit disappointing. I did have a try of putting it in there, but it just did not work. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. We will take that out of there. Replace that switch. We'll start building from here. Snap and connect onto there. And now this first piece here, we'll just line it up nice and neatly with the center of the rail, if it lets me. Like that. End the spline. And then the second one, it's pretty much the same way that you align to a platform. It'll work to align to the spline. Okay, where's the joint? Right there. And that should give us a straight line here now to put this switch in with. And we'll put it in and we'll see how close we got it. I think we're a little bit short. But it definitely lined up. Oh, have another go. Oh yeah, I see the joint. There it is, right there. Connect under there. And we're going to come up to where that joint is. And put this rail center of that rail. You can see there's a spot that'll let you place it, and because there is actually a grid to the old splines. There we go, I'm happy with that. Okay, now let's try this switch again, see where we fit. There we go. Yeah, definitely not lined up straight this time. And still a little bit too short. Oh yeah, I see we're a little bit to the right of there where we should be. Connect under there. Can be hard to get it to line up. We'll try that one, that position. So a little bit too far. That should be fine. How was our alignment? Now we are a little bit back the other way. It can be difficult to get it to line up so that you can build over the top of it. On a normal piece of rail, that wouldn't be, like if we're just putting a single line to somewhere, it wouldn't be too much of an issue. Because we're trying to keep all the yard all nice and parallel, and we sort of do need to get the track to place reasonably straight. Give that a go. And of course, right here at the start of the straight, this is always the start of the yard. This is always the most important one to get straight. And I think we've got a better alignment there. Yes, that seems to have built much better this time. A little bit off on this one here, but I think that's because we're a little bit too close. But we can correct it just a little bit as we're building along it. Okay, now we'll come back here and fix this bit here. And to do that, we'll just build over the top of it to turn these two separate pieces into a single spline. And look off way out into the distance, click and hold. That'll delete the two bits and the bit that's underneath, and done. Back to a single spline. And now to build out straight along here, we start off with a cross track on the end. Connect to the start of it, connect to the end of it. And the same thing we've been doing all along, is just build along it. And as I was saying, we can correct it slightly as we're building. And now we're back the other way. Of course, we can't see what corner we're putting on there because the switch has stolen our menu. Looks like we've got a pretty good alignment there now. Yeah, so this is just a single line running through between industries. You just wouldn't worry that it's a little bit off the center. See, there's that dip down that we were talking about, and really we needed to have taken care of that before we got to this point. Hopefully that hasn't dipped, which will make the next piece cause to dip, which we'll put this switch in, we'll see where it goes. Because it may dip, it may not dip, which it's that one, which we've been lucky and we've gotten away with it. And that's actually a pretty good match for that switch that's underneath. But I'm not real happy about how short that little piece there is, because it's made short little ties. And the way to fix that, of course, is to build over it again. And we'll get rid of this here. We don't need it anymore. I'll just come along and connect to every joint, except for the last two. Actually, the last three. Now we'll put in alt lock mode. Oh, it's just not going to let us build down there. That's what we want. We want to place it just that little bit shorter. Actually, looking at that, just not going to let us place it in there. Really, we should have deleted the short piece and the previous piece out. So we really want that to place right there, level, and it's not going to let us do it everywhere else but where we want to place it. Put a bump if we try and do that. Okay, we'll have a third go at it, and this time we'll delete that piece and this piece, and have a third try. Connect to every link again. It doesn't matter how many we get under there. When we run through it with the delete before we finalize the spline, it will remove all the mess that we've put underneath. Now we'll put on the alt lock and put in 2 7-tie lengths, and then we can just snap to the end. And then before we finish it, come to the delete, click and hold out there, and then it'll remove all the mess that we made in the inside and leave us with one single spline all the way along. Oh, come up in the air, that means we stood up on top of it. That should have gotten rid of everything out of there. And done. Okay, now we need to do the same thing here off the end of here. And how far are we getting off of alignment here? A little bit. Link. And now we start building along, trying to keep it center of the rail again. Wrong way. skewing off to one side again. And I actually have a feeling that the new splines sort of placed down with a natural wobble in them to give them that 'cause yeah, you can see that last piece was straight and now we're skewing off again. It's like they've got a natural wobble in them to try and make it look like narrow gauge. Going to be staying reasonably centre here now. Yes, these are pretty long straights. Should be able to fit quite a few rail cars in here. Not quite as long as the yard that I had on the last map, but it was ridiculously big. There's no way we had enough performance in the game to be able to handle that many rail cars at once, and we've come slightly skewed again. And the track underneath was put in with the straight mode on, so if what I'm putting in on top doesn't quite line up with it, it means one of them's got to be wrong. Oh, so a way to go. We're going to have to correct that line a little bit again. Oh, try building over the top, see if that makes it better. Oh, now it's clicking in a bit easier. Back to this problem of not quite big enough. Put in two shorter pieces here. And the dip down here at the end, and we want to pull up just before the dip. That's the spot. Snap it in. Now let's see if we can get a switch to go in here straight. And yeah, that's definitely not straight. Something was definitely out there on the other end. Or the switch underneath is not straight. But yeah, something didn't quite work out there. So we'll do our trick of replacing the switch with some normal rail. And I'm using the stuff with the groundworks on it, just so that it gives me a different, and yeah, we're definitely not lined up there. Well, if we're off to that one side here, how far off was it at the other end again? That definitely didn't snap in. So we're well and truly off the edge of the rails there. Yes, these last couple of bits seems to have skewed over quite a bit. And that one there looks alright. It's going to be a case of build over the whole line again. Remove that one. And build it again, snapping to every joint. So that we get a single spline in here. A little bit painful. All the way along to the end. At halfway. As you can see, this is going to take me quite a while to build out this entire yard, trying to follow so neatly along the tracks that have been made underneath as the guide. So what I might actually do is all the rest of this here, I will actually build it all off camera. We'll try and get a bit of a better alignment going on here before we get to the point this time. Snap that one in there, and then come back just a little bit. And there's the joint there, and you can see we don't have that dip down problem anymore now that we've replaced the switch. And well, that means I'm going to have to go back and do that another time over the top of it, because I accidentally right-clicked and confirmed the spline. And yeah, that's a better alignment. It's still not perfect, but it's a better alignment. We're still a little bit off to the... We've come to the other side of it now. So we need to get rid of this last one here. That one, and maybe that one as well. And do it a third time. Seems to be a task of doing things 3 times over. Did that actually connect? Yes, it did. Build over the whole thing, snapping to all the connections one more time. Maybe I am trying to be a little bit too much of a perfectionist. But yeah, this will be one of the spots where you take a lot of screenshots here, and you don't want to have wonky track with you in your screenshots. Especially in a nice big yard. Couple more to go. Back to that one, put the alt lock on, and now we'll turn around and make sure we keep these rails lined up. And that is the alarm to tell me that the hour's up. Let's see. One says it's too straight, one says it's not straight. And these two have got to come in just a little bit shorter. can't go to 9 ties, we've got to keep it at 7. And then find that spot where the joint is in the rail, and it should be there. Now, before we do it this time, we'll come and get our delete tool. And we need to have circle mode off. Always, you're going to make sure you turn circle mode off before you do this, the alt lock, because it will not delete properly if you have still got your alt lock on. You'll get issues with it deleting if you've still got the alt lock on. It will try and place a piece of track down, even when it's basically not a viable piece of track, and you'll get a skewed last segment, and then you've got to go back over it and do it again. Run back along and delete all the extras under here that shouldn't be here. Looking at it, there is a tiny little wobble after that switch. Right here, there's a tiny little wobble. Not to matter, it's not that bad of a wobble. There we go, should be all done all the way through. And now we'll try to put the switch on the end of it, and let's see where it points to. That's better. And put the switch facing back the other way. Left, and turn it to the left. And there we go. Now we're ready to start lining up and building this section along here. Which, because I've put a little short straight here, I can build from a cross track to a cross track. And that's one of the reasons why I put a little bit of a short straight there, because it just makes it easy to build. We don't have to try and put a cross track back inside the end of the switch to have a curve come straight from the end of the switch. So if we've got a little bit of a straight first, then we can just build over the cross track and keep going, and it makes it a little bit easier to clean up later. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. That will be the end of this episode. I will build out the entirety of the rest of this yard off camera. And when I come back, we'll put in a bit of groundwork, and then we'll keep working. Oh, well, it'll be the start of building at the log camp then, because we need to work down the hill from the log camp back into the bottom of this yard here. All right, see you in the next episode.